Welcome to our panelist discussion today. We'll be discussing women in EVs. Before we get into everything, we'll just go over a couple of the logistics and then we can introduce everyone and we'll start with our discussion. Just to start off, I want to let you know that we are recording this webinar. I want to make sure that you are consenting to participate in a recorded event. After this webinar, we will send out the recording and or upload the recording onto our YouTube. A couple of logistics for the webinar. This will be a casual conversation, but you will be muted during the first half of the discussion. And once we move to the Q&A, if you would like to share a question, just raise your hand and you'll be able to speak, join the gallery view. So that way we can talk to each other a little bit more face to face. Closed captions are also available. There should be an option to click closed captions at the bottom of your screen, if that should be helpful. And once we record the webinar, we'll upload it to our YouTube and we'll send you a recording link. Before we introduce our panelists, we'll take a moment to talk a little bit about us. We're Green Energy Consumers Alliance. We're joined by some lovely EV ambassadors today. We're a nonprofit organization. We're based in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. And our mission is to empower consumers and communities to speed a just transition to a zero carbon world. Now, for right now, I think we can introduce ourselves, get the conversation flowing. I'll pass it off to Anna in just a moment. I'm Caroline. I'm an EV program associate here on the team. I'm excited to hear what everyone has to share today.
I'll say, hi, everybody. I think we can go to just the gallery view and see everybody's faces. My name is Anna. I'm our electric vehicle program director. And we are having this webinar as part of National Drive Electric Month. You might remember if you've heard of National Drive Electric Week before, now it's a whole month. But basically it is a month where organizations, nonprofits, individuals all across the country host events to spread the word about EVs and just make sure people can get their questions answered. And we know from experience that a lot of those spaces are really dominated by men, which is fine, lovely, but we wanted to carve out a space where it could just be women talking about EVs, not in any particular gendered way, but just wanted to make sure that there's dedicated space for that. So I'm very excited to be joined by some lovely EV ambassadors that we know really well. I will quickly have the last member of our team at Green Energy Consumers introduce herself, and then we'll just go around to each of our panelists, and I'll ask you to introduce yourself, tell us what car you drive and when you got it, and how you know the organization as well. But Ariane, I'll let you introduce yourself first.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ariane. I am the Clean Transportation Intern at Green Energy Consumers Alliance. I'm very excited to be with the team here. I'm very excited to be here for this webinar. I am a big fan of EVs and love the work that Green Energy is doing. So yeah, just very excited to hear the conversation today.
I will pop it right to you, Gina. Tell us about your car, how you got it, how you know us. Oh, but you're muted. So first step, unmute.
Well, it's because of Green Energy Consumers that I have EVs in the first place. Around 2016, when the US got pulled out of the Paris Accords, I got very EV curious and I started going to your events. And that's how I ended up with my first Leaf in 2017, which I loved. Then I traded it up for a 2020 Leaf that had more range. And I'm really happy with both of my cars. My mom, even after swearing she would never do it, she bought her first EV and she's in her 80s. And she is touring all around Rhode Island and Providence in her candy color red Nissan Aria, living her best life. So I love the EVs.
Love it. Amy, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Amy. I have a Tesla Model X. I got it back in crazy 2020 year. I actually don't even remember when I started being an ambassador. I think it was back in 2020, and I was looking into EVs. I didn't know what I was doing, discovered the website, and then started going to events and being a panelist.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Fangshu, go ahead.
Hi, and hi everyone. This is Feng Shui. I am now a municipal staff, but I get to know Green Energy Consumer Alliance, this great organization through work. I used to work closely with Anna on community energy efficiency programs. Glad to be back and talk about EV. So he had the EV actually not too long ago, 2 years ago, 2023. While our previous car was reaching the end of its lease period here, so we're looking for a new one, and then we are very interested in EV, so we got this Volkswagen as a new car.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to just take a moment to, again, folks who are listening in, please put questions in the Q&A box at the bottom or raise your hands. As much as possible, we want you guys to ask the questions because you're here to get your questions answered. And so as much as we can have a conversation, the better. But we obviously have some questions prepared that we can run through. But I really want to encourage anybody, don't be shy. Please raise your hand, ask a question. And the same goes for you panelists. So if you want to ask each other questions or just bust in with a random story, please go ahead. But Caroline, do you want to pick a question from our list?
Yeah, of course. How do you all charge your vehicle? I know a lot of people might charge at home, but yeah, share. Do you charge at home? Do you charge at work, at a public charging station?
I'll go. So I do have a charger installed at home. That's probably my primary. When I do travel, I'm mostly stopping at superchargers. And every now and then, depending where I am in shopping centers, you'd be surprised how many chargers are just out and about that have limits for free for 2 hours or something like that. So now that I have an EV, I notice those a lot more, and I'll use those too just to top off once in a while.
Yeah, I have a home charger too, but I very rarely use it. When I'm out and about in Providence, I usually charge up in the course of the day while I'm out running errands. I only use my home charger if I'm really, really low and I'm planning a long trip, or if it's winter and I just need to warm the car up before I get in it.
I have a charger at home as well. And we enrolled in because I live in Belmont, and Belmont Light provides a differentiated rate for peak hours and off peak hours. So we enroll in that. It's a good deal if you have EV and a heat pump at home. So I mostly charge at home. And also since I work in Watertown, city of Watertown, and we have this it used to be free. Now they started charging, but still at very cheap price. Many public charging stations. For example, right behind the Watertown Free Public Library, I can easily find chargings. So I charge at home and at work. And also I find different charging stations when I was doing shopping and things like that, as Amy mentioned.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I'm hearing free charging, charging at home. I think we have a hand raised. I would love to learn a little bit more. I'm wondering if you accessed any incentives at all, if you do charge at home. Let's give, let's see, we might have a Q&A or two. Let's give them the floor. Anna, do you have that capability?
There was a raised hand, and then the raised hand disappeared. Whoever you were, please feel free to raise your hand and we'll call on you. But I do see a question in the chat already. Great. Ask all the questions. Does anybody still own a gas car at all?
I do.
You do?
I mean, Yeah, in my family, because so my husband now has a Volvo. But we're thinking about how, yeah, because that is an old vehicle as well. So maybe the next one will be another EV.
But Gina and Amy, you both just one car household and it's a battery electric vehicle.
Right.
Were you nervous about making that switch without a backup car?
No, not at all.
Gina's brave. Amy's nodding. How did you think
No.
about that, Amy?
Well, so I knew I wanted to get into it, and I figured I might as well just jump in. I have that type of personality. I was like, might as well go for it. But it really wasn't as scary as I thought it would be, especially having a home charger. I mean, it's almost like a blessing in disguise because I never have to stop at a gas station in winter, and I hate, like it's 6 a.m., you have to go to work, you got to do whatever you need to do. Having to stop at the gas station because you're on E, not having to do that anymore is amazing. And it really wasn't that scary of a transition. It's just like a gas tank. You just have to pay attention to the levels. It's not going to just drop to zero out of nowhere. And yeah, it's not so bad.
Definitely an Amy. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I had my car, my EV, for a few months before I had my own charging station. And I just threw my bike in the back of the car. And so I would charge at maybe the mall or someplace around town and bike home, and then bike back and pick up the car when it was done. So there are workarounds. I never had any problems.
I
I
actually
think when
oh, go ahead.
you go.
No, this is your space. Please go.
I was just gonna say it's amazing how many spots there are when you're looking for them to free charge or have like lower rate charging just out and about, like in the Kohl's parking lot or behind this shopping center. Just because I had an EV, then I started to look for them and then I saw them more often. So even if I'm running to go to Nike, there was one near Nike or something like that. And even if it's just, 20 minutes to top off, doesn't hurt.
That's a really good segue into another question we have. Someone was asking, how do you navigate and find free chargers?
So
There are
it's,
apps. There
yeah,
are apps that help.
better route. Which one do you use?
PlugShare.
Okay. Yep, that's another one I've used before.
Can you explain a little bit how those work for people who haven't heard this before, heard the term before?
Go ahead, Jenna.
Okay, well, PlugShare is an app where people can upload charging stations that they know about. For a while, I had my home listed as a station where people who are in Providence for the day running low, they could charge at my house and then maybe Venmo me some money or buy me a coffee or something afterwards. And when I'm planning a road trip, I use PlugShare to find out where the um, stations are along the route. And there are also reviews about which ones are reliable, which ones are usually out of order, which ones are in sort of sketchy places, and which ones are really safe and well maintained. But there are other apps, but PlugShare has just become my go-to because it's the one I was used to using.
I've used a better route planner as well. I was nervous about if I was traveling or going long distances, like what if there wasn't a Tesla supercharger? Because that was one of the reasons I went with Tesla to begin with. Pure fear of running out. Um, and so those will do the same thing as the plug share. It'll tell you locations, it might give you a review, it'll tell you rates. A lot of the ones that I've found are destination chargers, so they'll be at like restaurants or shopping centers or anything. And depending on the type of charger, you can download the app for that type of charger and it'll tell you the rates or if it's free for 2 hours. A lot of those I've just kind of discovered as I go along now that I look out for them.
I
So,
would say the same for me. He plugs hair mainly he for local haul or short distance travel haul. If I'm planning a longer trip, I definitely would use Electrify America to make sure there will be some superchargers along my travel route. And Volkswagen custom owner actually can enjoy free charging from Electrify America because of the deal between Volkswagen and the government. So luckily we can have free fast charging if we're planning for longer trip. Usually I found it quite convenient to find supercharging when I was driving from Boston sometime to New York or like to New Hampshire. These are the two direction I sometimes travel. So I can easily find supercharging along the way. So not too worried about how those trips.
We actually have one written question that I'll jump to, and then one person who raised their hand. So Lori, we'll get to you just in just a moment. But one person explicitly asked, do you have any issues or have you had any issues charging at night or on long trips? Have you ever run into any issues on long trips or at night?
Luckily, I haven't had any issues. The worst issue I've ever had charging on a long trip was that I had to wait. I was like 2 or 3 in line, and that was about it. But it was in a shopping area, so I parked the car, got myself a coffee. By the time I came back, I was able to hop in a spot not too long after and charge up.
Yeah, and if I'm not parking someone, I think the spaces seems kind of sketchy. I just don't park there. I'll just go someplace else. But I've never had any real problems. I've never felt unsafe charging at night.
Yeah, I would also say there's no big difference, but I'm curious why the question come out like any difference between night and daytime? Is that like a concern about how some charging station close at night? I don't see that happen often, so that shouldn't be a concern.
Well, I see Harold is the person who asked the question, and Harold has his hand raised. So Harold, I'm going to allow you to chat, and then Lori, you'll be next.
Okay. The reason I ask the question is it comes up sometimes when you talk to people, especially wives. If you're talking to a husband and wife team, they're, concerned about, going on a trip and charging at night. So that's why I asked the question.
I've heard this
Interesting.
sometimes in the policy context of like, as we're designing charging stations, let's make sure they're not like in the back of a mall behind the dumpster and poorly lit. Like, I've heard it in that context of like, let's make sure these stations are designed well. But I think it's a fair question, and I'm glad nobody's had an issue.
I
Go
will
back.
speak. Oh, sorry, go for it.
I was just gonna say what Jenna was saying as far as like PlugShare. PlugShare has reviews for locations. So if you're looking at a place, you can see someone might say, like, maybe I went there and I was like, sketchy, wouldn't go at night. You could look at that ahead of time and maybe say, we'll skip this one, let's go to this one. It's in a huge shopping center.
Absolutely. Honestly, that was exactly what I was going to say. My parents are proud owners of a Rivian. They absolutely love it. And they've done lots of long drives to visit both me and my brother at school in places that were incredibly remote. But yeah, thanks to great apps like PlugShare, it was very easy for them to plan out where chargers were vis-a-vis where they were staying, where the campus was, and getting to understand what the charging rate was, what the experience was like, what the quality of the charge was like. And so all of that makes traveling with an EV very, very easy.
Thanks, Harold, for your question. I'm going to find Lori. Lori, you had a question. Lori, you should be able to talk.
Hi, everyone. This is a great conversation, and I appreciate it so much. And thank you. Um, so I have a 2021 Bolt. Absolutely love it. I do have a charger at home. The first, before I got the charger installed, boy, that range anxiety is real. Um, I feel so much better being able to charge at home, but I have friends in distant places and get concerned about being able to make it out to see them. I've dabbled with some of the apps, and I'm wondering as the conversation has kind of is evolved, I'm wondering if that's some of my issue. My concern is that I did purchase an adapter so that I can charge at a Tesla supercharge station. But seemingly, I had this experience on the Cape where I thought there was actually Tesla superchargers near Orleans or in Orleans, which is where I was, and the adapter didn't work. And so I'm wondering, I don't have plug share. I'm actually wondering, I mean, that's a really good thing for me to investigate, but wondering about identifying, or if any of you, I don't know, we don't have a Bolt owner here, but how to identify those superchargers that will work with adapters, the one that I have.
So I know the ID4 and the Nissan Leaf don't yet have the adapters, unless something's changed and I'm not up to date, but I'm pretty sure neither of them have the adapters yet. So I'll just jump in real quick and say that for those who haven't heard of this, Tesla opened up its fast charging network to vehicles made by other manufacturers, and those other manufacturers are supplying their customers or selling to their customers adapters so that non-Tesla vehicles can use Tesla superchargers. The one detail that gets lost in some of the news articles about this is that not every supercharging station can use those adapters. It has to be a certain version. So some of the older superchargers don't work with the adapters. Tesla on their website or their app will show you pretty easily, and I'm pretty sure PlugShare will let you do that too, that you can check off adapter and filter the stations that way. So I would say make sure you go through one of those routes when you're looking for a charger, and it'll show you just the ones that would actually work for you. But it is confusing because if you just like type in Tesla charger into Google Maps or something and navigate to one, it might not be the right one. It might not be the level that you need for your vehicle.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Great. Thank you. I think I need to become more familiar with some of these other apps and also the filtering and all of that, a little technologically challenged here. Thank you.
Of course. Thanks for your question. I'm just going to keep encouraging folks to ask questions, but Caroline, if you want to ask
we
a
have a question in the chat on the
cool.
topic of charging apps. Someone asks if Asks will tell you if a charging station is not accessible or under construction. Have you found that generally when you've been navigated to public charging that it's updated in real time, or have you ever navigated to a charging station that wasn't accessible? And
I haven't had too many issues. I guess you could say it's like a review. If someone wants to leave a bad review, they're probably more apt to do that than a good review. And so if someone runs into an issue, you're probably going to hear about it. I have seen on PlugShare before where someone said like this is not working, or specifically I'm thinking about there was a newer construction area and they had chargers, but they sat there for like a year and a half unconnected. So people would say all the time like, "Hey, it navigated me here," but they weren't even on. So I've seen that before. So it's just whoever's willing to update, because a lot of those are just by person that is visiting those. It's a personal review.
certainly.
Dina or Fangshu, have you run into any issues with chargers not working when you get there?
Oh yeah, it's happened a few times. I knew when I was going down to Newport a lot, I charged in the Newport Hospital parking lot, and there was a time I got there and the station had been vandalized. So, I couldn't charge up, but I took a photo, uploaded it to PlugShare, and they posted it right away. And then I just went to Fort Adams and charged over there. So I always have a plan B. If I know that one place might be busy or inaccessible, I always have a couple of other places in my back pocket I can go to.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Fangshu, any issues with your travels with your ID4?
Not really. Maybe my daily routine is quite just like home work and home work, and for longer distance, as I mentioned, I use DC fast charging sometimes, and So Electrify America, that had phone app, is pretty reliable as what I have experienced. Not, I haven't experienced situation that had a DC fast charging on a highway or at some shopping mall. It's not working and it's not reflected on the app.
Do you guys, are you, when you use like an Electrify America charger or a ChargePoint charger, do you have all of these individual apps downloaded on your phone, or do you have one and you kind of use it for all of them? Because a lot of these apps like talk to each other at this point, so you can use the ChargePoint app to use this charging station that is not run by ChargePoint. So do you guys have all the apps on your phones, or do you just kind of have the one that you need and forget the others?
For me, I have PlugShare and Electrify America. Yeah.
I guess the Electrify America connection is really nice with the VW product. So you're gonna
Yes.
use
Yeah,
those.
it's so convenient. And the good thing is it's free for us. So
Amy, do you use the Tesla app at all?
Yes, it's mostly through the navigation in my car. My number one charging would be home, and then secondary would be Tesla superchargers. So when I put in a longer route, it will just direct me to superchargers automatically and plan out my whole route. If I'm going longer than that, or if I want to stop where I know it's more remote area or there isn't a supercharger, then I'll do a better route planner and plan ahead using that app instead. I do probably have a lot of those apps though. Every time I go to a different charger, I like download a new one just so I have it. I don't know. So I probably have a bunch, but I don't use them very frequently.
I think a
What is,
couple of,
oh, go ahead. Sorry,
go
Carly.
ahead. I think a couple of you mentioned that you charge at home. How is the process in terms of bringing that charger and installing it at your home? Was there anything you wish you knew beforehand, or you live in Massachusetts or Rhode Island? I know there are some incentives that help consumers bring a charger to your home. How was your experience, and were you able to use and save with an incentive?
I have a charger at home. I bought it almost the same time that I bought my car, maybe a week difference. I have a friend that's an electrician, so he helped me install it in the house. It was pretty seamless, or it's on my garage. Um, I did have an incentive that did exist back in 2020. It's not around anymore, but it was a tax credit up to a certain amount because I did have to improve the wiring. My garage was running on like 5 amps at that time. And so they did have to do a little bit of an upgrade to get this charger to work. So I was able to get a tax credit for that. I don't believe those are around anymore though.
There is a federal tax credit, but it is only available if you live in a qualifying census tract, and it's going away at the end of June 2026.
Okay. Yeah. Mine was a lot more broad back then.
Well, I live in a condo. I don't have a garage, and I was able to install a charger on the outside of my building. I just had to get permission from the condo association, which was fine because I was on the condo board, so I gave permission to myself. So it was very easy, and I went with a company that pretty much specialized in installing these kinds of things. I don't remember if there was a rebate. I think I got a manufacturer's rebate. It was so long ago, I don't quite remember, but I know that there was some sort of rebate.
yeah, so I also have a charger at home, and I would encourage everyone to get had more than two quotes when you're thinking about how the installation of an EV charging station at home, and try to find a reliable vendor to complete the installation. Um, and make sure you, because different towns, cities might have different policies for rebates for these installations, and make sure you take advantage of that. And I would also say, please consider her enrolling, depending on whether you are National Grid or Eversource or a municipality, uh, like electricity plant customer. Her check whether you have the differentiated electricity rate. Because if you're charging your car during that height, if you enroll in the off-peak hour rate, that would be a good deal.
I'll say if you live in Massachusetts and you're in National Grid territory, there's an off-peak charging rebate where you can save 5 cents per kilowatt hour in the summer and 3 cents per kilowatt hour in the winter if you charge off-peak. Eversource does not currently have a program, but a lot of the municipal utilities do. And in Rhode Island Energy has a different kind of program. It's called the the Connected Solutions Electric Vehicle Demand Response Program. So many words. But basically, if you enroll, you get a stipend or basically a payment for participating, where basically during moments of peak demand in the summer, Rhode Island Energy will automatically slow the rate at which you're charging unless you override it. You always have the option to override, but it helps the grid manage those peak demand moments that are really disproportionately expensive and disproportionately polluting. So unfortunately, all the utilities have their own approaches, but there can be some good programs out there.
I think Lori raised her hand. Lori, I'm going to give you the floor. Just a moment. You should be able to speak.
Hi, yes, thank
Hi.
you so much. I just wanted to offer that I qualified for a $700 rebate from Eversource when I had my charger installed, and I had contacted some company. Someone had mentioned, wonderful guy actually, who was at an EV test event in Hingham, had given me the name of a company that installs chargers. I ended up not using them. It was kind of a crazy situation, but I found an electrician who did the installation, and I think what's important is just making sure that um, any electrician can do this, but asking if they've had experience, installing these chargers. I think that that's important. And the gentleman that I hired had experience, and I did receive that $700 rebate, which was really helpful.
That's in Massachusetts. Thank you, Lori, for that reminder. Because in Massachusetts, National Grid and Eversource customers, if you're installing a charger at home in a single family home, you can get up to $700 for the infrastructure upgrades. And then if you're in a multi-family home, there are additional incentives on top of that. So even if you rent in Massachusetts, your landlord could get incentive dollars from the utilities to install a charger for your use. I'm curious, the thing that you said about getting at least 2 quotes, did you get really wildly different quotes when you shopped around for an installer?
Sorry, I'm using my phone. It's a little bit difficult to navigate.
No worries.
I actually don't recall exactly. I think there is slight difference in the price. Sorry, my daughter is kind of behind me and she might make some noise. But I do think the vendor I selected in the end, they provide a better they provide better plan. They seem to be more reliable whole, and which turned out her installation and she really likes the EV, by the way. She always say, "Hey, I want to ride in the quiet and nice car,"
Nice.
because we have 2 vehicles at home. Yeah, so I'm not sure whether I'm allowed to recommend like a specific vendor, but I can let anyone know like who I worked with if someone is interested in seeking that information.
If people have questions afterwards for specific panelists, we're happy to do some email forwarding. Cool. I just keep waving.
We have a question on the topic of home chargers.
Yeah, go for it.
For your home chargers, are they hardwired to your house, or did they get a NEMA 1450 rating to plug to to plug it in. All right, I'm making sense. Are your home chargers hardwired to your house? I think Harold raised his hand. I'll give you permission to speak. Just one moment.
Sorry, it's
Sorry
hard
about that.
typing on this plug. I'm actually at a supercharger because I'm on a trip. But the question is, when you got your home charger installed, did they hardwire it to the house, to the electrical box, to the electrical system, or did they just put in a plug like a NEMA 1450 plug, where you then took your home charger and just plugged it into it?
So I'm hardwired. I actually ended up putting like a sub panel in the garage just because I felt safer to me. So mine's in my garage, hardwired in. If I go to someone else's house and I want to use like a charger there, then I'll probably just use like I have friends that have like the dryer outlet. I don't know if that's the NEMA, but the dryer outlet that I plug in and then I can get a little bit faster charge than like a trickle charge with a 3-prong. Um, but yeah, hardwired for me.
Gina, I see you nodding. Same for you?
Yeah, yeah, mine's hardwired too.
Feng Shui, I don't know if you can speak, but let us know if you have anything on the topic of hardwired versus not.
Sorry, I missed that question.
No worries. Whether your charging station is hardwired to your home or not.
Yes, that is.
I will say
Thanks.
a lot of vehicles now, it used to be in the early days of EVs, you got an EV and you got pretty much as a default, you got a level 1 charging cord, which is a cord that you can plug into a 120 volt outlet. Increasingly, more and more manufacturers are handing out portable level 2 chargers where basically what Amy was describing, if you have somebody with the type of plug that you would use for an all-electric dryer or something, you can just plug right into that. And it's basically, instead of hardwiring the safety equipment to the wall, it travels with you. We were at an event recently where a salesperson with a Chevy Blazer was showing us that when you get the Blazer, you get a cord that is both a level 1 and level 2, and you can basically swap out what you want, and that's just like a portable charger that comes with the vehicle. So that's something that's changed a little bit in the last couple of years, that the portable level 2 thing didn't exist a couple years ago. But I think it's pretty handy. We have a lot of questions in the chat. Is anybody here a National Grid customer specifically? No, because we've got 2 Rhode Islanders and Belmont. So sorry, Anonymous, nobody here has used the National Grid program. Anonymous, send us an email, we can chat. I think, I'm not sure if I fully understand the question, but we do have another question, which is, does anybody have a 2-way charger that can also send electricity back onto the grid?
I don't have that.
No.
No, I don't have one.
That doesn't surprise me. There's only a couple cars that can do that right now. The Nissan Leaf is actually one of them, but there's not really a program that incentivizes the use of that for residential customers yet. But it's a cool technology that we're keeping an eye on. Keep the questions coming. But I am curious, what is the longest road trip you all have been on so far in your EV, and how did it go?
Probably 4 hours each way. And it was fine. I planned it out. I ended up that trip using just Tesla superchargers the whole way. And then on my way back, I got more adventurous. So if I saw something like a center I wanted to stop at and I saw a charger, I would stop there instead. That's one thing. At first, with the range anxiety, I was like, all right, I'll plan out my trip. I'll stick to the plan. I'll stop when it says to stop. Now I'm not as OCD about it, I'll say. So I'm a little bit more adventurous, I guess, stopping and charging and just exploring as I go.
I didn't really go anywhere recently. I think the longest trip I made over the summer was down to Mystic I made it from Providence to Mystic and back on one charge. I didn't run my AC very much though.
For me, we actually just traveled to Montreal and Quebec City here last month with our ID4. It was a good trip. We didn't have any trouble finding a charging station, which is good. And I would like to say that at the very beginning, so right after we purchased the ID4, we, especially me, he kind of have the range anxiety. But as we were traveling with the EV multiple times, um, we were less worried about that hat. Maybe it's because so sometimes we drive north to New Hampshire area, and then so I'm kind of new that had if I drive north, I will have these charging station on my way, and also I got the impression that had whenever you're traveling to major like big cities, you will easily find either level 2 charging station or her super like DC fast charging stations. So we did not. This was a little different from Amy's experience. We didn't really plan for the trip until like the morning, and we put everything in the car, and then we get started. And then I was driving, and my husband started looking at the route and trying to find like the next. We didn't really get so much worried about that hat, which is a good thing. I think now the more and more I was driving the EV, the less anxious I was about how the
What
range.
made you take the ID4 instead of the Volvo?
Oh,
You chose an EV instead of a gas car for this trip.
yeah, and that probably is a question about how what I like more about how my EV compared to um my gas car. So first thing it's light to drive. So I haven't asked my husband about that, but for me it's really a good feeling that had that had you're consuming less energy. It's not only about how like saving the environment kind of concept, but it's also how that had you're being very efficient on the way, and it's good to feel that you're driving fast and light with quiet environment, like it's not making that loud noise compared to my gas car. um and my daughter loves the feeling in in the EV, and that's one reason as well. And another thing, I mentioned it's really cheap for us to charge the vehicle whole. So economically, it also makes sense for us to drive the car long distance. Um, and also for the EV, it connects to my phone and lets me use like it plays my podcast easily. It connects to different apps on my phone much easier than my Volvo car. So these are several of the many things we love about how traveling with the EV, I think.
Impressive. Does anybody, we have a question here. Anybody have any experience finding free chargers in Western Mass? There might be fewer out there. I'm sorry, Patricia. But again, PlugShare will let you sort, and you can look for free ones on PlugShare, but I don't know of any in particular. Okay, we've got like 10 minutes left. So keep the questions coming. But I do have one, which is what has been the most pleasant surprise about your vehicle? Or unpleasant. You would go anyway. Something that surprised you that you weren't prepared for, that you want to talk to.
I guess I could say I was really nervous about range anxiety. And at first it was a real thing and I hyped it up a lot more. Especially I'm the type of person that, like just hit fall. My heat seater is on, my steering wheel heat is on, like I got the heat pumping already, like I'm ready to rock and roll. And I was concerned about having all those things going and how much it would change the battery. One thing that was nice to know is that your battery going from summer to, 0-degree winter, it's not happening overnight. So like if you are using those utilities, you just notice like a little bit of a curve. It's not like day and night going from, I don't know, everyone has different range, but going from 250 to 150 miles of range, it's not overnight. It's a smooth adjustment. It's just like using a gas car. You'll notice an adjustment depending on things that you're using, how fast you're going. It wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. And I love it. I love my car.
I want to highlight, we had a question about finding chargers in the Western Mass area, chargers that are free. We had another comment from the Q&A. Big Y Supermarket will give you 1 hour free charging. That might be worth checking out. It's the first time I've heard of that. So if you're in the area and there's a Big Y near you, maybe there's some free charging.
Gina or Fengshu, any comments on what surprised you?
I guess what surprised me is the way other people react to my car. They accuse me of sneaking up on them because they don't hear it.
Yeah.
I think it really surprised a lot of my friends when they didn't hear I guess maybe my old car was really loud or something. But when I got the Leaf, suddenly they said, when did you get here? What are you driving? So it's a nice little car. I love the Leaf.
And for me, I think it's still the saving of the gas fee, like the cost of charging the car. Even though when I purchased the car, theoretically I know it saves like to drive in, but it's still a pleasant surprise when you see the cost each month is reducing, and also I don't really need to maintain the car that often, which is really good. Another thing is that had before he was driving it a lot hot. I thought her ID4 would probably be a small car with not that big space, but actually it surprised me with the fact it's pretty roomy and I carry a lot of things and um, like more than a week's luggage with me to Montreal, so I can put everything in the trunk, which is really nice as well.
Somebody specifically asked, how many times did you have to stop to get from Belmont to Montreal to charge?
Let me count. To Montreal. Well, sometimes I stop and charge if I see there is Electrify America station. So it doesn't necessarily have to be I was down to zero and I started looking for. So I stopped 3 to 4 times, but I would say some of the would be at the moment that had I probably consumed just half of the range.
And then can you remind everybody how many miles you get on one charge in the ID4?
The ID4, usually I charge to 80%, which allows me to drive 180. I know you might have the precise number of
Yep, I'm looking it
when
up
it's
because I can't
if
remember
it's
off the
fully
top of my
charged.
head anymore. The 2025 ID4 gets anywhere from 206 to 291 miles per charge, depending on which trim you get. Because some of the trims I think are all-wheel drive, and those go a little bit less far. Actually, there's a complicated series of trims that you can pick from, but over 200 up to 291.
Yeah, sorry. I think so. That's my another point. For potential EV buyers, if you think range is really something that had bothers you, who you can, because as Anna mentioned, different cars and different model, they have different ranges. So you can, if range is really bothering you, you can look at those cars with longer drive ranges.
I will somewhat selfishly I don't know. I'll make a plug for our EV Finder because you can sort and filter by range. And so I'll put that in the chat for those who are interested. I think we've got one more question from the chat and then any sort of parting thoughts, and then we can call it a day. But somebody asked about, okay, winter coming. Did I hear somebody say something about heating up while charging? I think that was Eugenia. You mentioned that way at the beginning. Can you tell us more about preconditioning your car?
Yeah, because my car lives outside. Like on days when it's really cold and or snowy, or maybe I've got to shovel off the car anyway, I'll just plug it in and charge it and warm the cabin, so that then when I'm driving, I don't have to run the heat and run down the battery. It's especially important if I'm going a long distance. If I'm just tooling around town, it's not that big a deal. Also, the one thing about my Leaf that I'm not too crazy about is that it doesn't have heated seats. I got really spoiled with my first Leaf that had the heated seats, and the 2020 doesn't.
I will say warming yourself by using the heated seats or the heated steering wheel is more efficient than heating the cabin air. So that is a really nice feature, particularly in an EV. Amy and Fangshu, do you precondition when it's cold?
Yes, yes. It's convenient to start the car with the phone app. And also, so even if you leave the car and if you would like to keep the car being cool, you can keep it, I forgot the term, but you can keep the AC on. Because sometimes my daughter would fall asleep in the vehicle. So driving an EV, it makes me feel safe that both me and my daughter can stay in the car even after we shut the car, like shut it down. But for her gas car, you would be concerned because you don't want to keep the car like running like all the time. But with a toddler, with a baby in the car, sometimes you want it to be very safe if they're sleeping in the car. Yes.
I do precondition. I have on my app, I schedule times for when I'm ready to rock and roll. And so during the week for my normal schedule, I get up at the same time, I leave the house at the same time. So once it starts to get a little bit cooler outside, I just have it preconditioned for a certain time. So it's ready to go. My seat's on, my steering wheel's on, and the car is ready to go by the time I'm ready to get in.
That sounds nice. I want to do that with my bus seat, but I'm trying to think that it works the same way.
Sure, there's something where we can get you plug into a battery.
No pants. That'll be fine. Well, I want to say a big thank you to everyone for joining. Do any of you have any final parting thoughts?
Thanks for having me.
Cool. Oh, sorry, Fangshu, go ahead.
No, yeah, I want to say, hey, once you shift to EV, it's kind of hard for you to shift back to gas cars. Yeah, that's my final comment.
That's a good one. Well, I think we can just say thank you very much. I'm very, very grateful for the three of you to spend your time with us. And Caroline put in the chat, if any of you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at drivegreen@greenenergyconsumers.org. We'll also send out an email with I was about to say the slides, with a recording, and also a link to our Drive Green community Facebook group where you can ask more questions and have real life EV drivers respond. So with that, I think I'll say good night.